Sarah, a devoted single mother, has always prioritized her 16-year-old daughter Emma above everything else. But when Emma starts telling elaborate lies to her friends, teachers, and extended family about Sarah being neglectful, abusive, and absent, Sarah's world begins to crumble. The lies escalate when Emma claims her mother abandoned her, forcing Sarah to live with the painful consequences of a damaged reputation and broken relationships. The breaking point comes during a family gathering, where Emma's fabricated stories reach a devastating climax, pushing Sarah to finally expose the truth in front of everyone, revealing not just Emma's lies, but the heartbreaking reason behind them. I never thought my own daughter would be the one to destroy me. It started small, the way poison always does. A comment here, a twisted story there. I should have seen it coming, but when you're raising a teenager alone, you learn to pick your battles. And Emma had always been dramatic. I thought it was just part of growing up. The first time I realized something was seriously wrong was on a Tuesday afternoon in March. I was picking Emma up from her friend Chloe's house after school, something I did twice a week since Chloe's mom worked late shifts at the hospital. I'd been doing this for months, trying to help out another single parent. It felt good to be part of a community, to have other moms I could rely on. But when Chloe's mom, Janet, opened the door, her face was cold in a way I'd never seen before. "Sarah," she said, not inviting me in like she usually did, "I think we need to talk." Emma was already walking toward my car, her backpack slung over her shoulder, not making eye contact with either of us. Something twisted in my stomach. "Is everything okay?" I asked, genuinely confused. "Did something happen at school?" Janet looked at me for a long moment, her expression somewhere between pity and disgust. "Emma told Chloe some things about your situation at home. I had no idea you were struggling so much financially that you couldn't even afford to feed her properly." My mouth dropped open. "I'm sorry, what?" "Look, I'm not judging you," Janet continued, though her tone suggested otherwise. "Being a single mom is hard, but if you need help, there are resources, food banks, assistance programs. You don't have to let your daughter go hungry." The words hit me like a physical blow. "Janet, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Emma's never gone hungry a day in her life. We're not wealthy, but we're fine, more than fine." She looked skeptical. "She said you've been skipping meals to save money, that sometimes there's nothing in the fridge for days." I felt the world tilting beneath my feet. Just that morning, I'd packed Emma's lunch, turkey and avocado sandwich, her favorite chips, an apple, and a homemade cookie. Our refrigerator was full of groceries I'd bought over the weekend, including the expensive organic yogurt Emma insisted on and the special gluten-free bread she'd decided she wanted to try. "That's not true," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "That's not true at all." Janet's expression softened slightly, but I could see the doubt still lingering in her eyes. "Maybe she's just being a teenager, exaggerating things. You know how kids can be." But I knew this wasn't typical teenage exaggeration. This was something else entirely. The drive home was silent. Emma stared out the passenger window, her earbuds in, pretending to be absorbed in her music. But I could see her watching me in the reflection of the glass, gauging my reaction. "Emma," I said when we pulled into our driveway, "we need to talk." She sighed dramatically and pulled out one earbud. "About what?" "About what you told Chloe, about us not having enough food." For just a moment I saw something flicker across her face. Fear, guilt, but it was gone so quickly I might have imagined it. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, but she wouldn't meet my eyes. "Janet said you told Chloe that I skip meals and that our fridge is empty." Emma shrugged. "Maybe she misunderstood something I said. You know how adults are. They hear what they want to hear." The casual way she dismissed it, the complete lack of concern for how her words might affect me, made my chest tighten. "Emma, this isn't a joke. When you say things like that, people think I'm neglecting you. They think I'm a bad mother. Aren't you?" The words came out so quietly, I almost didn't catch them. I turned off the engine and turned to face her fully. "What did you just say?" She was looking at me now, her blue eyes, my eyes, filled with something I couldn't quite identify. "Nothing. Can I go inside now?" "I have homework." That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation over and over. Emma and I had always been close. After her father left when she was 8, it had been just the two of us against the world. I'd worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat, saved every penny I could for her college fund, attended every school play and soccer game. When she wanted to quit soccer for drama club, I supported her. When she decided she was interested in photography, I bought her a camera for her birthday even though it meant eating ramen for 2 weeks. I'd sacrificed everything for her, and she knew it. So why was she telling people I was failing her? The lies escalated over the following weeks. I started noticing the way other parents looked at me at school pickup, some with pity, others with judgment. The grocery store clerk, Mrs. Henderson, who'd known us for years, started slipping extra coupons into my bag with a sympathetic smile that made me want to crawl under a rock. Then Emma's English teacher, Ms. Rodriguez, called me in for a conference. "I'm concerned about Emma," she said, her voice gentle but professional. "She's been writing some very troubling pieces in her creative writing assignments, very dark themes about abandonment and neglect." My heart started racing. "What kind of pieces?" Ms. Rodriguez pulled out a folder and extracted a typed page. "This is from last week's assignment about a significant challenge in your life. Would you like me to read it to you?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. "My mother works all the time and never has time for me," Ms. Rodriguez began reading in Emma's voice. "Sometimes I don't see her for days because she's either at work or too tired to care about what I'm doing. I've learned to take care of myself because I can't depend on her to be there when I need her. Last month when I was sick with the flu, she still went to work and left me alone all day with nothing but soup from a can." Each word was like a knife twisting in my chest. I remembered that day she was referring to. Emma had had a mild cold, not the flu, and I'd taken the entire day off work to stay home with her. I'd made her homemade chicken soup, brought her tea with honey, and we'd watched movies together all day. It was one of the rare sick days we'd both actually enjoyed. "Ms. Rodriguez," I said carefully, "I think Emma might be interpreting our situation differently than it actually is." The teacher's expression was compassionate but troubled. "Sarah, I've been teaching for 15 years. I can usually tell when a student is writing fiction versus drawing from real experience. This has the ring of truth to it." I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake Emma until she told everyone the truth. But instead, I took a deep breath and said, "What if I told you that none of this is accurate? That I took that entire day off work to care for her when she was sick? That we spend most evenings together, either helping with homework or just talking?" Ms. Rodriguez looked uncomfortable. Well, sometimes teenagers perceive neglect, even when parents think they're being attentive. Maybe there's a communication gap. A communication gap. As if 16 years of bedtime stories, birthday parties I couldn't afford, late-night talks about boys and dreams and fears could be reduced to a communication gap. I left the school that day feeling like I was drowning. Emma was waiting by my car, scrolling through her phone. "How was your day?" I asked, like nothing had happened. "Fine," she said, without looking up. "Ms. Rodriguez showed me your creative writing piece." Emma's fingers stopped moving on her phone screen, but she didn't look at me. So, it wasn't true, Emma. None of it was true. It's creative writing, Mum. It doesn't have to be true." But we both knew that wasn't what this was about. This wasn't creative writing, this was character assassination, and I was the target. "Why?" I asked, my voice breaking despite my efforts to stay calm. "Why are you doing this to me?" For a moment I thought she might actually answer. I saw her face soften, saw something vulnerable flicker in her expression, but then it was gone, replaced by the cold indifference that had become her default mode around me. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, and got into the car. That night I called my sister Rachel in tears. Rachel lived 3 states away, but we'd always been close. She was the only family I had left after our parents died in a car accident 5 years ago. "She's destroying me, Rachel," I sobbed into the phone. "Everyone thinks I'm this terrible mother who neglects her own daughter, and I don't understand why she's doing it." "Have you tried talking to her? Really talking to her?" Rachel asked. "I've tried everything. She just denies it or acts like I'm being dramatic. Maybe she needs counseling. Teenagers can be cruel without even realizing it. Maybe she doesn't understand how her words are affecting you." But I knew Emma understood exactly what she was doing. I'd seen the calculation in her eyes, the way she watched my face when her lies came to light. This wasn't unconscious cruelty. This was deliberate. The breaking point was still weeks away, but looking back now, I can see that this was when everything truly started to fall apart. This was when I realized that my own daughter, the person I loved more than life itself, had declared war on me. And I had no idea why. The lies grew like wildfire, consuming everything in their path. 3 weeks after the conversation with Ms. Rodriguez, I discovered Emma had been telling her extended family, my family, that I was having what she called episodes. According to my cousin Mark, who called me out of genuine concern, Emma had described me as having mental breakdowns where I would disappear for days and leave her to fend for herself. "Sarah, why didn't you tell us you were struggling?" Mark asked during that devastating phone call. "We could have helped. We could have taken Emma for a while if you needed time to get back on your feet." I was standing in my kitchen, staring at the dinner I'd been preparing, Emma's favorite lasagna, while my cousin painted a picture of me as an unstable woman who abandoned her child during psychological crises. "Mark, I haven't disappeared anywhere," I said, my voice hollow. "I work, I come home, I take care of Emma. I don't know what she told you, but it's not true." The silence on the other end of the line stretched too long. "Sarah, are you sure? Because Emma was very specific. She said last month you left on a Friday night and didn't come back until Monday morning. She said she had to eat cereal for every meal because there was nothing else in the house." My mind raced back to that weekend. I had gone to a work conference in Philadelphia, a weekend training seminar that was mandatory for my promotion. Emma had stayed with our neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, who had a daughter Emma's age. I'd arranged it weeks in advance, left detailed instructions, money for food, and had checked in with both Emma and Mrs. Patterson multiple times throughout the weekend. That was a work conference, Mark. I told Emma about it a month in advance. She stayed with our neighbor and I called her every night. "She never mentioned a neighbor," Mark said quietly. "She said she was alone." The betrayal cut so deep I could barely breathe. Emma hadn't just lied. She'd crafted an elaborate narrative designed to make me look like the worst kind of mother, the kind who abandons her child without care or consideration. "Mark, I need you to listen to me very carefully," I said, my hands shaking as I turned off the oven. "I have never, not once, left Emma alone for an entire weekend. I have documentation of the hotel I stayed at, emails about the conference, receipts from the meals Emma and Mrs. Patterson shared. Emma is lying." But I could hear the doubt in his voice when he replied, "Maybe there's been a misunderstanding somewhere. Kids sometimes feel abandoned even when they're not actually alone, you know?" After I hung up, I stood in my kitchen surrounded by the evidence of my devotion. Homemade dinner, Emma's school photos on the refrigerator, her artwork from elementary school still hanging on the walls, and realized that none of it mattered. Emma's lies were more compelling than my truth. That's when I started documenting everything. I began keeping a detailed journal of our daily interactions. What time Emma came home from school, what we talked about, what I made for dinner when she went to bed. I saved every receipt, every email, every piece of evidence that proved I was present, engaged and caring. I felt insane doing it, like I was gathering evidence for a trial I never wanted to have. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I was going to need proof of my innocence. The documentation became crucial 2 weeks later, when Emma's school counselor called. "Mrs. Davidson, I'm calling because Emma has been spending a lot of time in my office lately," Mrs. Chen explained. "She's been expressing some concerns about her home situation that I think we need to address." My stomach dropped. "What kind of concerns?" "She's mentioned feeling unsafe at home. She says you've been bringing strange men around and that she's uncomfortable with some of their behavior toward her." The words hit me like a physical blow. I hadn't been on a single date since Emma's father left. Not one. I'd been so focused on being the perfect single mother that I'd completely neglected my own social life. The most exciting my love life had gotten in the past year was a friendly conversation with the UPS driver. "Mrs. Chen, I haven't brought any men around Emma. I haven't even been on a date in over 2 years. I understand this might be difficult to discuss, but Emma was quite specific. She described a man named Jake, who she said makes her uncomfortable, and whom she claims you prioritize over her well-being. Jake. The only Jake I knew was my accountant, who was gay, married, and had come to the house exactly once to help me organize my tax documents. Emma had been present for the entire 2-hour meeting, which had taken place at our dining room table, with all the lights on and the front door wide open. "Mrs. Chen, I think there's been a serious misunderstanding. Jake is my accountant. He's a professional who came to help me with my taxes." Emma was in the room the entire time. I could hear Mrs. Chen typing on the other end. Emma described him as someone who visits regularly and stays late into the evening. The systematic nature of these lies was becoming clear. Emma wasn't just making up random stories. She was taking real people and real events and twisting them into narratives that painted me as neglectful, unstable, and now potentially dangerous to her well-being. "I can provide you with Jake's business information," I said, my voice steady despite the panic rising in my chest. "You can call his office and verify that he's a tax professional who met with me once for 2 hours to prepare my returns." That evening, I confronted Emma directly. She was in her room, supposedly doing homework, but actually watching TikTok videos with her earbuds in. I knocked and entered without waiting for permission, a boundary I'd never crossed before, but desperate times called for desperate measures. "Emma, we need to talk, now." She looked up with that practiced expression of annoyed innocence she'd perfected. "About what?" "About Jake. About the lies you're telling people about him." Something shifted in her expression, a flicker of something that might have been fear or excitement. I couldn't tell which. "I didn't lie about anything," she said, but her voice was different, sharper. "You told Mrs. Chen that I bring strange men around who make you uncomfortable. You specifically mentioned Jake." Emma sat up straighter, and for a moment I saw something in her eyes that chilled me. It was cold and calculating, like she was weighing her options. "Maybe I was confused," she said finally. "Maybe I mixed up some details." "Mixed up details?" "Emma, you accused me of putting you in danger. You made it sound like I was bringing predators into our home." She shrugged. "People hear what they want to hear, Mom. Maybe Mrs. Chen misunderstood what I was saying, but we both knew that wasn't what happened." Emma had been precise, deliberate, and devastatingly effective. "Why?" I asked, sitting on the edge of her bed. "Emma, I need you to help me understand why you're doing this. Are you angry with me about something? Are you upset about the divorce? About Dad leaving?" For just a moment, her mask slipped. I saw something raw and hurt flash across her face, something that looked like the daughter I used to know, but then it was gone, replaced by cold indifference. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, putting her earbuds back in. I stayed there for a long moment, staring at this stranger who looked like my daughter. When had she learned to lie so expertly? When had she developed this capacity for cruelty? And why was I the target? The next day, I called a family therapist. "I need help," I told Dr. Morrison during our initial phone consultation. "My daughter is telling elaborate lies about me to everyone in our lives, and I don't know how to stop it." "That must be very painful," Dr. Morrison said. "How long has this been going on?" "A few months, but it's getting worse. She's told people I neglect her, that I have mental health episodes where I abandon her, and now she's implying I bring dangerous men around her. And none of these things are true." The question shouldn't have stung. Of course, a therapist would need to verify, but it did. "None of it is true. I have documentation proving otherwise, if that helps." "Documentation?" I explained about the journal, the receipts, the conference materials. As I talked, I realized how insane it sounded. A mother keeping evidence to prove she wasn't abusing her own child. "Sarah, it sounds like you're under an enormous amount of stress. Have you considered that Emma might be acting out because she senses your anxiety about this situation? Even the therapist was suggesting this was somehow my fault." "Dr. Morrison, I'm anxious because my daughter is systematically destroying my reputation and relationships with lies. The anxiety is a result of her behavior, not the cause of it." We scheduled an appointment for the following week, but I could already tell Dr. Morrison was approaching this as a communication problem rather than what it actually was, a targeted campaign of character assassination by my own child. That weekend, I tried one more approach. I planned a mother-daughter day, something we used to do regularly when Emma was younger. Shopping, lunch at her favorite restaurant, maybe a movie. Quality time to reconnect and hopefully understand what was driving this behavior. "I don't want to," Emma said when I suggested it Saturday morning. "I have plans with friends." "What plans? You didn't mention anything yesterday." She looked at me with barely concealed contempt. "I don't have to report my every move to you, Mom. I'm 16, not 6. But then her phone buzzed, and I saw her face light up as she read the message. Without thinking, I glanced at the screen and caught a fragment of text from someone named Chloe. "Did you tell your mom yet that—" Emma quickly turned the phone face down, but not before I saw her expression change from casual indifference to something that looked almost like guilt. "Tell me what?" I asked. "Nothing, it's not important," but I knew it was important. Everything Emma did these days seemed calculated to cause maximum damage to my life and reputation. Whatever she was planning to tell me, or not tell me, was just another piece of the puzzle I couldn't solve. If you've ever felt like you were losing your grip on reality because someone close to you was gaslighting you, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Sometimes, knowing you're not alone makes all the difference. As I watched Emma leave the house that morning, claiming she was going to study at the library, I realized I was living with an enemy who happened to share my DNA, and I still had no idea why. The lies had taken on a life of their own, spreading through our community like a virus I couldn't contain. It was Mrs. Patterson, our neighbor, who delivered the most devastating blow. The same Mrs. Patterson, who had watched Emma during my work conference, who had known us for 3 years, who had always been friendly and supportive. She appeared at my front door on a Tuesday evening, her face grave and uncomfortable. "Sarah, I need to talk to you about something serious," she said, declining my invitation to come inside. "It's about Emma." My heart immediately started racing. After months of lies and accusations, I'd developed a Pavlovian response to conversations that began this way. "What about Emma?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Mrs. Patterson glanced around nervously, as if she was worried someone might overhear us. "She came to me yesterday asking if she could stay with us for a while. She said—" She paused, clearly struggling with how to phrase it. "She said you'd been drinking heavily and that she didn't feel safe at home anymore." The words hit me like ice water. I don't drink. I never drink. I'd maybe had 3 glasses of wine in the past year, all of them at neighborhood barbecues with Mrs. Patterson present. I'd been so focused on being the perfect single mother that I'd avoided anything that might impair my judgment or ability to care for Emma. "Margaret," I said, using Mrs. Patterson's first name to emphasize the seriousness of the moment, "I don't drink. You know I don't drink. You've never seen me drink more than half a glass of wine at your summer parties." She looked uncomfortable but resolute. "That's what I thought, which is why I wanted to talk to you directly, instead of calling social services immediately." Social services. The words made my blood run cold. Emma's lies had escalated to the point where she was actively trying to get me investigated by Child Protective Services. "Margaret, Emma is lying. I don't know why, but she's been telling increasingly elaborate lies about me for months. Ask your daughter Jess. She was here last weekend when Emma came over to study. Did I seem intoxicated to you then?" Mrs. Patterson's expression softened slightly. "No, you seemed fine. Normal. That's why this is so confusing. Emma was very upset yesterday. She had tears in her eyes when she asked if she could stay with us." Tears. Emma had actually cried while lying about me. The level of manipulation was beyond anything I'd imagined my daughter capable of. "What exactly did she tell you?" I asked. "She said you've been drinking wine for breakfast, that you stumble around the house at night, and that last weekend you passed out on the couch and didn't wake up when she tried to rouse you." Margaret paused, watching my face carefully. "She said she's been hiding it because she's embarrassed, but that she's scared something bad is going to happen." Every detail was a masterful distortion of reality. Yes, I'd fallen asleep on the couch last weekend after working a double shift and staying up until 2 a.m. helping Emma with a history project. I'd been exhausted, not intoxicated. And the wine for breakfast? I'd had coffee every morning for the past month, something Emma had witnessed dozens of times. "Margaret, I can prove every bit of this is false. I can show you my work schedule, my coffee purchases, the credit card statements that show I haven't bought alcohol in weeks. Emma is systematically lying about me, and I don't understand why." But I could see the doubt in Mrs. Patterson's eyes. Even though she'd known me for years, Emma's performance had been convincing enough to override her personal experience with me. "I told Emma she could stay with us tonight if she needed to," Mrs. Patterson said carefully, "just while we figure out what's going on." The betrayal was complete. My own neighbor, someone I'd trusted and helped countless times, was now providing sanctuary for Emma's lies. That night, Emma didn't come home. I sat at our dining room table, staring at my phone, waiting for a call or text that never came. Around 11 p.m., I finally called Mrs. Patterson's house. "Is Emma there?" I asked when Margaret answered. "She is. She's safe. Can I talk to her?" A pause. "She says she's not ready to talk to you yet. Not ready to talk to me, as if I were the one who had done something wrong. Margaret, she's my daughter. I have a right to know she's okay." "She's okay. She's in Jess's room, and they're watching movies. Maybe you should take tonight to think about things." As if there were things I needed to think about beyond how to prove my innocence against my own child's accusations. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at my computer and began researching teenage behavior, psychological manipulation, and parental alienation. What I found was disturbing. There were cases of teenagers who developed patterns of pathological lying, often targeting the parent they felt closest to because that parent felt the safest to hurt. But none of the articles explained why. None of them told me how to stop it once it had started. The next morning, Emma still didn't come home. Mrs. Patterson called around 10 a.m. to tell me Emma had asked to stay another night. "She says she needs more time to think," Margaret explained. "Think about what? I haven't done anything wrong." "Sarah, maybe you should consider that Emma's perception of the situation is different from yours. Sometimes alcohol problems develop gradually, and the person drinking doesn't realize how it's affecting their behavior. I wanted to scream. Even Margaret, who had never seen me drink more than half a glass of wine, was now accepting Emma's narrative over the evidence of her own eyes. That afternoon, I did something I'd never imagined I'd need to do. I called Emma's father. David had left us 8 years ago for a younger woman he'd met at his gym. He paid his court-ordered child support, but rarely called and visited Emma maybe 6 times a year. He'd moved to California and started a new family, leaving Emma and me to figure out life without him. Sarah, he sounded surprised to hear from me. Is everything okay? No, everything is not okay. Emma is telling people I'm an alcoholic. She's staying with neighbors and refusing to come home. A long pause. Are you an alcoholic? The question felt like a slap. No, David, I don't drink. I don't understand why Emma is doing this, but she's telling elaborate lies about me to anyone who will listen. I could hear him typing in the background, clearly multitasking during this conversation about his daughter's well-being. Maybe she's acting out because she's angry about something. Have you done anything to upset her? I've been a good mother to her. I've sacrificed everything to give her a stable, loving home. I don't understand why she's trying to destroy me. Kids can be dramatic, David said dismissively. She'll probably get over it. Get over it. As if Emma's systematic campaign to destroy my reputation and relationships was just typical teenage drama. David, she's trying to get social services called on me. This isn't drama, this is serious. Look, Sarah, I can't really get involved in this. I'm 3,000 miles away, and I have my own family to worry about now. Maybe you should talk to a counselor or something. He hung up, and I realized I was completely alone in this nightmare. That evening, I decided to try a different approach. Instead of waiting for Emma to come home, I went to Mrs. Patterson's house and rang the doorbell. Jess answered the door. Oh, hi, Mrs. Davidson. Hi, Jess. Is Emma here? Before Jess could answer, Emma appeared behind her. She looked perfectly normal, not distressed, not upset, not like someone who had fled an unsafe home situation. Mom, she said calmly, what are you doing here? I'm here to take you home. We need to talk. I'm not ready to come home yet. Mrs. Patterson appeared, looking uncomfortable with the confrontation happening on her doorstep. Emma, I said, looking directly into my daughter's eyes, I need you to tell Mrs. Patterson the truth. I need you to tell her that I don't drink, that I've never passed out, that I've never done any of the things you've accused me of. For a moment, Emma's mask slipped. I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt, fear, but then it was gone, replaced by that cold indifference I'd come to dread. I told Mrs. Patterson what I've been experiencing, she said carefully. If that makes you uncomfortable, maybe you should think about why. The gaslighting was so expertly done that even I started to question myself for a split second. Maybe I was forgetting things. Maybe I had done something wrong without realizing it. But then I remembered the documentation, the receipts, the emails, the journal entries. I had proof of my innocence, even if no one seemed interested in seeing it. Emma, come home with me right now, or I'm calling the police to report you as a runaway. Mrs. Patterson stepped forward. Sarah, maybe that's not necessary. Emma feels safe here, and she's not in any danger. She's not in any danger at home either, because I'm not an alcoholic and I've never hurt her. I looked at Emma one more time. You have until tomorrow morning to come home and tell the truth, or I'm going to start showing people the evidence that proves you're lying. As I walked back to my empty house, I realized that my relationship with my daughter, the most important relationship in my life, was irreparably broken. Emma had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed, and I had no idea if we'd ever find our way back to each other. If you've ever had to choose between protecting yourself and protecting someone you love, let me know in the comments what country you're watching from. Sometimes the hardest battles are fought with the people closest to us. The war was escalating, and I was about to discover that Emma's lies were just the beginning of something much darker. Emma came home the next morning, but she didn't come alone. I was sitting at the kitchen table with my coffee and my journal, the evidence I'd been carefully documenting for weeks, when I heard voices outside. Through the window, I saw Emma walking up our driveway with Mrs. Patterson and another woman I didn't recognize. My stomach dropped as I realized who the stranger must be. The knock on the door came at exactly 9 a.m. When I opened it, Emma stood between the two women like she was flanked by bodyguards. Mrs. Davidson, I'm Janet Mills from Child Protective Services, the stranger said, showing me her badge. We need to talk. This was it. Emma had actually done it. She'd gotten CPS involved. Of course, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. Please come in. As they settled in my living room, I noticed Emma looking around with an expression I couldn't quite read. Was she seeing the clean house, the family photos on the walls, the evidence of a stable home? Or was she mentally cataloging details she could twist into more lies? Mrs. Davidson, we've received some concerning reports about Emma's welfare, Janet Mills began. I need to ask you some direct questions, and I need you to be completely honest with me. I'll answer anything you want to ask, I said. But first, I need you to know that Emma has been telling elaborate lies about me for months. I have documentation that proves most of her claims are false. Janet Mills' expression didn't change. Let's start with the allegations of substance abuse. Emma has reported that you've been drinking heavily and that your behavior has become erratic and potentially dangerous. I looked directly at Emma as I answered. I don't drink heavily, I barely drink at all. The last time I had more than half a glass of wine was at Mrs. Patterson's barbecue 3 months ago. I turned to Mrs. Patterson. You were there. You saw me nursing a single glass of wine for 2 hours. Mrs. Patterson looked uncomfortable. That's true, but Emma says the drinking has gotten worse recently. Emma says a lot of things that aren't true, I replied, pulling out my folder of documentation. I have credit card statements showing my purchases. You'll notice there are no alcohol purchases. I have photos on my phone from last weekend when Emma claims I was passed out drunk. They show me helping her with homework at 10 p.m. Janet Mills examined the documents while Emma sat silently beside Mrs. Patterson. I watched my daughter's face as the caseworker looked through my evidence, but Emma's expression remained blank. These are very detailed records, Janet Mills said. It's unusual for a parent to document their activities so thoroughly. It's unusual for a child to make false accusations about their parent, I replied. I started keeping records because I realized Emma was systematically lying about me, and I needed to be able to prove the truth. Emma, Janet Mills turned to my daughter, your mother is saying these incidents you reported didn't happen the way you described. Can you help me understand the discrepancy? For the first time that morning, Emma spoke. Her voice was small and trembling, nothing like the cold, calculating tone she'd been using with me for months. Sometimes when Mom drinks, she doesn't remember things clearly, Emma said, not meeting my eyes. She might not realize how her behavior affects me. The performance was masterful. Emma had tears welling up in her eyes, and her voice carried just the right note of a child trying to protect a parent, despite being hurt by them. Emma, that's not true, I said firmly. You know I don't drink. You know I remember everything that happens in this house because I'm present for all of it. Mrs. Davidson, Janet Mills interrupted, I can see this is a very emotional situation for your family. What I'd like to do is interview Emma privately and then speak with you separately. Sometimes children find it easier to be honest when they're not worried about their parents' reaction. My heart raced. A private interview meant Emma could tell any lie she wanted without me there to contradict her with evidence. That's fine, I said, but I'd like you to take this documentation with you when you speak with Emma. I'd like you to ask her specific questions about the incidents I've documented. After Janet Mills and Emma left for the private interview, Mrs. Patterson and I sat in awkward silence. Margaret, I finally said, you've known me for 3 years. You've seen me with Emma countless times. Do I seem like someone who would neglect or endanger her child? Mrs. Patterson looked genuinely conflicted. No, you don't. That's what makes this so confusing, but Emma was so upset when she came to me. She was genuinely frightened. She was genuinely acting, I corrected. Emma is an excellent actress. She's been in drama club for 2 years. But why would she lie about something this serious? That was the question I'd been asking myself for months. Why would Emma want to destroy the life I'd built for us? Why would she risk being taken away from me and placed in foster care? What could possibly motivate her to hurt me this deeply? The interview lasted 2 hours. When they returned, Emma's eyes were red from crying, and Janet Mills looked troubled. Mrs. Davidson, I need to ask you about some specific incidents Emma has described, Janet Mills said. She's mentioned times when you've left her alone overnight without arranging supervision. That's never happened, I said immediately. The only times I've been away overnight were for work conferences, and Emma always stayed with Mrs. Patterson or my sister Rachel. I pulled out my phone and showed her the photos from the Philadelphia conference, time-stamped pictures of the hotel, the conference materials, the dinner receipt from the restaurant where I'd eaten alone while worrying about Emma back home. Emma also mentioned that you've been bringing men to the house late at night and that these men make her uncomfortable. Jake, my accountant, came to the house once during tax season. The meeting was during the day, lasted 2 hours, and Emma was present the entire time. I handed her Jake's business card. You can call his office to verify. For every accusation, I had a response backed up by documentation. but I could see that my level of preparation was almost working against me. It looked obsessive, desperate. Mrs. Davidson, Emma also mentioned that you've been reading her private messages and monitoring her communications with friends. This one caught me off guard because it was partially true. I check Emma's phone periodically, yes. She's 16 years old, and responsible parenting includes making sure she's not communicating with dangerous people or engaging in risky behavior online. Emma says this monitoring has become excessive and that you've been using information from her private conversations to control her social activities. I thought about the text message I'd glimpsed from Chloe, the one that had been cut off before I could read it completely. Had Emma told Janet Mills about that? I monitor her phone the same way I always have. If anything, I've become more careful about her privacy recently because I've been trying to understand why she's been lying about me. After another hour of questions, Janet Mills closed her notebook. Mrs. Davidson, I'm not finding evidence to support the most serious allegations Emma has made. Your documentation is thorough, and the timeline discrepancies are significant. She paused. However, it's clear that there's a serious breakdown in communication between you and your daughter. Emma genuinely believes she's been mistreated, even if the specific incidents can't be verified. What does that mean for us? I asked. It means I'm not removing Emma from your home today, but I am going to require that your family participate in counseling. Both individual sessions for Emma and family therapy sessions together. Relief flooded through me, followed immediately by dread. I wasn't losing Emma to the system, but I also wasn't vindicated. The official position seemed to be that this was a misunderstanding rather than a deliberate campaign of lies. After everyone left, Emma and I were alone in our house for the first time in 3 days. Are you happy now? Emma asked, her voice cold again. The frightened, tearful child from the interview had vanished the moment the caseworker left. Happy? Emma, you almost got me investigated for child abuse. You tried to have me declared an unfit mother. How could I possibly be happy? You got what you wanted, she said. Everyone believes your precious documentation instead of believing me. The documentation proves I'm telling the truth. It proves you've been lying about me. Emma looked at me with something that might have been hatred. Maybe your truth isn't the only truth that matters. She started to walk toward the stairs, but I stopped her. Emma, wait, please. I need to understand why you're doing this. Are you angry about something? Are you trying to punish me for Dad leaving? Are you upset about something I did or didn't do? For a moment, she hesitated. I saw that vulnerable flicker again, that glimpse of the daughter I used to know. You really don't know, do you? She said quietly. No, I don't know. Please help me understand. But instead of answering, she shook her head and continued upstairs. I heard her bedroom door close with a soft click that somehow felt more final than if she'd slammed it. That night, I called my sister Rachel and told her everything that had happened. Jesus, Sarah, Rachel said when I finished. This is serious. Have you considered that Emma might need professional help? This level of lying and manipulation isn't normal teenage behavior. The caseworker is requiring counseling for both of us. Good. But Sarah, you need to prepare yourself for the possibility that this might get worse before it gets better. If Emma is this committed to hurting you, she's not going to stop just because CPS didn't remove her from your home. Rachel was right. As I lay in bed that night, I realized that today's victory was temporary. Emma's lies had been exposed, but her motivation remained a mystery, and someone willing to call CPS on their own parent wasn't someone who would be deterred by a single setback. The real battle was just beginning. The counseling sessions were a masterclass in psychological manipulation, and Emma was the star student. Dr. Susan Walsh, our family therapist, had come highly recommended. She specialized in adolescent behavior and family dynamics, and I'd hoped she would be able to see through Emma's lies. But within the first session, I realized Emma had found her most receptive audience yet. I feel like my mum doesn't trust me, Emma said during our second joint session, her voice soft and hurt. She checks my phone constantly, questions everywhere I go, and documents everything I do like she's building a case against me. Dr. Walsh nodded sympathetically. That must feel very invasive, Emma. Sarah, can you help me understand why you feel the need to monitor Emma so closely? I looked between them, feeling like I was walking into a trap. I started documenting our interactions because Emma was telling people things about me that weren't true. The phone monitoring isn't new. I've always checked her phone periodically for safety reasons. But Emma feels that this monitoring has intensified recently, Dr. Walsh observed. Emma, can you give me an example of how this affects you? Last week, she went through my text messages with my friend Chloe and got angry about something completely innocent. Emma said. Then she confronted me about it like I was doing something wrong, when really I was just talking to my friend about normal teenage stuff. The conversation she was referring to was the text I'd glimpsed about Emma planning to tell me something. But in Emma's version, my concern about her secretive behavior became controlling and invasive parenting. Sarah, how do you respond to Emma's perception that your monitoring feels excessive? Dr. Walsh asked. I think Emma's perception is influenced by the fact that she's been lying about me for months, I said carefully. When someone is being deceptive, any oversight feels excessive to them. Dr. Walsh made a note. I hear you both expressing feelings of distrust. Emma, you feel your privacy is being violated. Sarah, you feel Emma hasn't been honest with you. Let's explore what might be underneath these feelings. But we never got to explore anything meaningful because Emma was too skilled at redirecting the conversation back to my alleged shortcomings as a parent. Sometimes I feel like Mom loves the idea of being a perfect single mother more than she actually loves me, Emma said during our third session, like I'm just a prop in her story about how well she's handling everything since Dad left. The words cut deep because they contained just enough truth to sting. I had worked hard to prove I could be everything Emma needed after David left. I had sacrificed my social life, my career advancement opportunities, and my own happiness to focus entirely on being the best parent I could be. That's an interesting observation, Emma, Dr. Walsh said. Can you give me an example of when you felt like a prop rather than a daughter? When she takes pictures of us doing homework together and posts them on social media with captions about quality time with my amazing daughter, Emma replied. Or when she volunteers to help with school events just so other parents will see how involved she is. Every example Emma gave was technically true, but completely stripped of context. Yes, I posted photos of us together because I was proud of our relationship and wanted to share happy moments. Yes, I volunteered at school because I wanted to be involved in Emma's life. But in Emma's telling, these acts of love became evidence of narcissistic parenting. Sarah, how do you respond to Emma's feeling that your parenting sometimes focuses more on appearance than on her actual needs? Dr. Walsh asked. I felt like I was drowning. Everything I do is focused on Emma's needs. I work 2 jobs to support us. I attend every school event. I help with homework every night. I cook dinner, do laundry, and try to create a stable, loving home for her. But do you ask Emma what she actually needs, or do you assume you know? Dr. Walsh pressed. I ask her constantly. How was school? What do you need help with? What would you like for dinner? What are your plans for the weekend? Emma barely responds to most of my questions. Maybe because you ask them like you're checking items off a list, Emma interjected. It doesn't feel like you actually want to know about my life. It feels like you're going through the motions of being a good mom. The therapy sessions became a weekly ritual of Emma presenting herself as a misunderstood teenager with an overbearing, image-obsessed mother. Dr. Walsh seemed completely taken in by Emma's performance, often ending sessions with suggestions for how I could be more sensitive to Emma's needs. After 6 weeks of therapy, I was more isolated and confused than ever. Even the professional I'd hoped would help us was now questioning my parenting style. But then something unexpected happened. Emma's friend Chloe called the house on a Thursday evening, crying hysterically. Mrs. Davidson, I need to talk to you about Emma, Chloe sobbed into the phone. I can't keep this secret anymore. It's eating me alive. My heart stopped. What secret, Chloe? Emma made me promise not to tell anyone, but what she's doing to you isn't right. She's been lying about everything. I sat down heavily, my hands shaking. What do you mean? The stories about you drinking and leaving her alone and bringing strange men around. None of it's true, is it? Emma told me she made it all up because she wanted to live with her dad in California. The words hit me like a physical blow. She wanted to live with her dad? She's been planning this for months, Chloe continued through her tears. She thought if she could prove you were a bad mom, the court would let her move to California with her dad. She said her dad has more money and a bigger house, and his new wife is really cool. Everything suddenly made horrible sense. Emma hadn't been acting out randomly. She'd been executing a calculated plan to escape what she saw as a boring life with her struggling single mother in favor of a more exciting life with her wealthy father and stepfamily. Chloe, are you absolutely sure about this? I have text messages, Chloe said. Emma sent me pictures of things she Googled about how to prove parental neglect. She even researched which lies would be most believable. She said she had to make it really bad so that CPS would get involved, because that would force a custody review. My daughter, the child I devoted my life to, had been systematically destroying me as part of a calculated plan to abandon me. Mrs. Davidson, I'm so sorry, Chloe continued. I should have told someone sooner, but Emma said if I told anyone, she'd tell everyone at school that I was lying about her, and she'd make sure no one believed me about anything ever again. Even her friends were afraid of her. Emma had been manipulating and controlling everyone around her, not just me. Chloe, would you be willing to tell Dr. Walsh what you just told me? And would you be willing to show someone those text messages? Yes, Chloe said immediately. I can't let Emma keep hurting you like this. You've always been nice to me, and Emma's been lying about you this whole time. After I hung up with Chloe, I sat in my living room staring at the photos on the walls. Years of birthday parties, school plays, vacations, and everyday moments that I'd thought represented a loving mother-daughter relationship. But apparently, Emma had been planning her escape for months, methodically destroying my reputation so she could justify leaving me behind. I called David that night. Emma wants to live with you, I said without preamble when he answered. What, Sarah, what are you talking about? The lies, the accusations, the CPS investigation. It was all part of a plan to prove I'm an unfit mother so she could move to California with you. Silence on the other end of the line. David, did you know about this? Emma mentioned that she'd been having some problems with you. She said you'd been drinking and that she was worried about your mental health. And you believed her? You've known me for almost 20 years, and you believed I'd become an alcoholic who neglects her child? She seemed really upset when she called. She was crying and saying she felt unsafe. She was acting, David. She's been lying about me for months to manipulate a custody change. Another long pause. Are you sure? Emma seemed genuinely distressed. Even now, even with the truth laid out clearly, David was more willing to believe Emma's lies than trust his own knowledge of my character. Her friend Chloe called me tonight. She has text messages proving Emma planned this whole thing. Emma Googled how to fake parental neglect, David. She researched the most believable lies to tell. For the first time, David sounded uncertain. That doesn't sound like Emma. That's exactly what Emma is like. You just haven't been around long enough to see it. When Emma came home from school the next day, I was waiting in the living room with printed copies of Chloe's text messages. We need to talk, I said. Emma glanced at the papers in my hands, and for the first time in months I saw genuine fear in her eyes. Chloe told me everything, I said quietly, about your plan to move to California, about the research you did on parental neglect, about the lies you've been telling to try to prove I'm an unfit mother. Emma's face went through a rapid series of expressions: fear, anger, calculation, and finally cold defiance. So, she said, are you going to punish me? I'm going to show Dr. Walsh these text messages. I'm going to show them to your father, and then we're going to decide what happens next. Dad will still want me to come live with him, Emma said with more confidence than she probably felt. Will he? When he finds out you've been lying about me for months? When he realizes you manipulated him into questioning my fitness as a mother? For the first time since this nightmare began, Emma looked genuinely worried. If you've ever discovered that someone you trusted completely had been betraying you all along, tell me in the comments which country you're watching from. Sometimes the people closest to us are capable of the deepest betrayals. The final confrontation was coming, and for the first time in months, I held all the cards. The family gathering was supposed to be a celebration of my niece's graduation, but it became the stage for the most devastating confrontation of my life. My sister Rachel had invited everyone, aunts, uncles, cousins, family, friends, to her house for a barbecue in honor of her daughter's college acceptance. It was the first time in months that I'd been around extended family, and I could feel the weight of their judgment the moment Emma and I walked through the door. The whispered conversation stopped when we entered. The pitying glances and careful politeness told me that Emma's lies had spread far beyond our immediate circle. My own family had been poisoned against me. Sarah, my Aunt Linda said with that overly gentle tone people use when they think you're fragile, how are you holding up, dear? I'm fine, Linda, I replied, watching Emma from the corner of my eye as she hugged relatives who looked at her with extra sympathy. If you ever need anything, Linda continued, you know we're here for you. Sometimes it takes a village, especially when... She didn't finish the sentence, but I knew what she meant. Especially when you're struggling with addiction. Especially when you're failing as a mother. Especially when your own daughter has to seek refuge with neighbors. Emma had been busy during our months of therapy sessions. She'd called relatives, texted cousins, and shared her carefully crafted narrative with anyone who would listen. Now I was surrounded by family members who looked at me like I was a ticking time bomb. I'd brought copies of Chloe's text messages with me, along with all the documentation I'd been gathering for months. Today was going to be the day I finally exposed the truth, no matter how ugly it got. "Emma," my cousin Mark said, pulling her into a hug. "How are you doing, kiddo? Are things getting better at home?" "I'm okay," Emma replied with that perfectly modulated tone of brave sadness she'd perfected. "Mom and I are in therapy now, so hopefully things will improve." The implication was clear. I was the problem that needed fixing. I waited until everyone had arrived and gathered in Rachel's backyard. The graduation cake had been cut, presents had been opened, and the conversation had settled into the comfortable rhythm of family catching up. That's when I stood up. "I need to tell all of you something," I announced, my voice carrying across the yard. Conversation stopped. All eyes turned to me, and I saw expressions ranging from concern to curiosity to barely concealed alarm. For the past several months, Emma has been telling people that I'm an alcoholic, that I neglect her, and that I bring dangerous men around our house. I looked directly at Emma, who had gone very still beside the picnic table. "These are all lies." "Sarah," Rachel said gently, "maybe this isn't the time or place." "This is exactly the time and place," I interrupted. "Because Emma's lies have damaged my relationships with all of you. You've been treating me like I'm unstable, like I'm a danger to my own child, and I need you to know the truth." I pulled out the folder of documentation I'd brought. Emma didn't just make up random stories. She researched how to fake parental neglect. She planned this whole campaign to destroy my reputation so she could move to California to live with her father. "That's enough, Mom," Emma said, her voice sharp with warning. "No, it's not enough. It's not nearly enough." I turned to address the whole group. Emma's friend Chloe came forward with text messages proving that Emma planned this entire thing. She Googled how to prove parental neglect. She researched which lies would be most believable to social workers. I began reading directly from Chloe's screenshots. "I need to make it look really bad, so CPS will get involved. That's the only way to force a custody review. I found a website that lists signs of alcoholism. I'm going to tell Mrs. Patterson that Mom shows these symptoms. If I can get enough people to believe Mom is unstable, Dad will have to take me in." The yard had gone completely silent. Even the children had stopped playing. "Emma," my Uncle Tom said slowly, "is this true?" Emma's face had gone pale, but her voice was steady when she replied. "Mom is obviously having some kind of breakdown. She's been obsessed with documenting everything I do and say. Now she's making up conspiracy theories about me. But this time her performance wasn't working. Too many people had heard the specific details, seen the evidence, witnessed the calculated nature of her lies." "Emma," Rachel said firmly, "these are very serious accusations your mother is making. If you planned this, if you deliberately lied about being neglected, that's not something we can ignore. Show them the text where you talked about researching my work schedule," I said, flipping to another page. "The one where you told Chloe you needed to know exactly when I'd be at conferences so you could claim I abandoned you." I read aloud. "Mom has a work conference next weekend. Perfect timing. I'm going to tell Mrs. Patterson she left me alone without arranging childcare. I already checked her emails. She'll be in Philadelphia from Friday to Sunday." My cousin Mark's wife gasped. "Emma, you read your mother's private emails." "And this one," I continued, "where she talks about my accountant visit. Some old guy is coming to the house tomorrow to do Mom's taxes. I'm going to tell people he's one of the creepy men Mom brings around. It'll be perfect because he's actually coming to the house, so there's some truth to it." The evidence was overwhelming. Emma had documented her own deception in messages to her friend, never imagining that Chloe would eventually feel guilty enough to expose her. "Emma," my Aunt Linda said, her voice shocked, "why would you do something like this?" For a moment, Emma's composure cracked. She looked around at all the faces staring at her, family members who had believed her, supported her, and pitied her, and I saw something like panic in her eyes. "You don't understand," she said, her voice rising. "You don't know what it's like living with her. She acts like this perfect single mother, but she's suffocating me. She controls everything I do. She makes everything about her and how hard her life is." "So you decided to destroy her life?" Rachel asked incredulously. "I just wanted to live with Dad," Emma exploded. "He has a better house and more money, and his wife is actually fun to be around. Mom is boring and depressing, and she never wants to do anything except work and worry about money and ask me about homework." The raw honesty was more damaging than any of her lies had been. She wasn't claiming abuse or neglect anymore. She was admitting that she'd destroyed my reputation because she found me boring. "Emma," I said quietly, "I worked 2 jobs to support us. I worried about money because I was trying to save for your college education. I asked about homework because I cared about your future. Everything you did was about making yourself feel like a good mother," Emma shot back. You never asked what I actually wanted. What did you want? I asked. I wanted a normal life. I wanted a mom who wasn't always stressed about bills and tired from work. I wanted to live somewhere nice and go on real vacations and not have to worry about whether we could afford things. The truth was finally out. Emma hadn't been abused or neglected. She'd been embarrassed by our modest lifestyle and resentful of the sacrifices I'd made to raise her alone. So you lied about me being an alcoholic because you wanted a bigger house? My Uncle Tom asked, his voice disbelieving. I didn't think it would get this big, Emma said, tears starting to flow. I just wanted people to understand that I needed to live somewhere else, but then it snowballed, and I couldn't take it back without admitting I'd lied. You could have taken it back at any time, I said. You could have told the truth when CPS got involved. You could have stopped when you saw how much you were hurting me. I was scared, Emma whispered. You were committed, I corrected. You were committed to this plan, no matter who it destroyed. The family gathering ended shortly after that. People didn't know what to say, how to process the revelation that a 16-year-old had orchestrated such an elaborate deception. Some offered awkward apologies for believing Emma's lies. Others seemed angry at having been manipulated. Most just left as quickly as they could. As Emma and I drove home in silence, I realized that our relationship might never recover from this. Trust, once broken this completely, doesn't easily heal. Are you going to send me to live with Dad? Emma asked as we pulled into our driveway. Do you still want to live with him? She was quiet for a long moment. I don't know, this isn't how I thought it would happen. Emma, your father doesn't want you to live with him. When I told him about your plan, when I showed him the evidence of your lies, he said he couldn't trust someone who was capable of this level of manipulation. The look of devastation on Emma's face almost broke my heart. Almost. So what happens now? She asked. Now we figure out how to rebuild our lives. Both of us. You're going to apologize to every person you lied to. You're going to continue therapy, individual sessions this time, to figure out why you thought this was acceptable. And you're going to live with the consequences of your choices. Do you hate me? Emma whispered. I looked at my daughter, this stranger who shared my DNA and had nearly destroyed my life, and realized I didn't know how to answer that question. I love you, I said finally, but I don't like you very much right now, and I don't trust you at all. If you've ever had to rebuild a relationship with someone who betrayed you completely, let me know in the comments what country you're watching from. Some betrayals cut so deep that healing seems impossible, but sometimes the only choice is to try. The lies had been exposed, the truth had been revealed, but the real work of healing was just beginning, and I wasn't sure either of us was ready for it.